Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Feeling a little insecure. All my baby hairs are growing back because it's been exactly 2 years since I had my daughter, and finally my hair is growing back. I don't know if you guys went through that if you had a child, but it's crazy. The hair loss is crazy. But excited that these little babies are coming back, but they're kind of furry. But anyways, this is not the reason why I came onto YouTube today. So, I wanted to share my story on how I became a children's yoga teacher. So, back in 20, I want to say everything I think about, like 2017 was such a huge year. It was like super traumatic for me, but I had just moved out of me and my boyfriend were living together, and I had just moved out. And he was like helping me with rent, and then I became a yoga teacher, and then I was starting to get um started with getting my career like on the fast pace. So I was teaching a bunch of yoga classes. We broke up, and then I had to move into my own apartment. And then now I really had to make the money and pay the rent. And so I was already a yoga teacher. And I was like, okay, what else do I love doing? And I just always loved children. I loved taking care of my older sister's kids and spending time with them and taking them on a new adventures. So I was like, ooh, like I saw this job on Indeed and it was like, oh, we need a daycare teacher. So I applied, and then luckily she gave me the interview even though I had no experience in being a daycare teacher. So I go to the interview. She lets me see the place. She sees how I interact with the kids. They like me, and it was all good. And then she gave me the job. And then luckily on the job, she gave me all the training I needed to know how to teach children, manage a bunch of kids. I think the class was about like 6 kids, and just like take care of them, make sure they're on the schedule. And I would just, at times, I would be there by myself, and it was totally fine. I loved the job, but it was like, high energy, and you gotta check yourself at the door, make sure you're in a good mood. Because when you greet the kids, you want to make sure that they also have a good beginning of the day and they're parting from their parents. So I've learned a bunch of techniques on how to deal with that. And she trained me up. I got a bunch of like training online and then on the job training. And then I was just coasting along being a daycare teacher, going there. I think I was working like 5 days a week. And then I would leave to go teach some lunchtime yoga to adults, and then I would come back. And she was like, oh, you teach yoga? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, and you also had a background in dance. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, why don't you like teach the kids yoga? And I was like, okay. And so I started to teach the kids yoga, and it was the freaking cutest thing ever. And they loved it. They looked forward to doing something out of the routine. And I would teach it like once a week yoga, and then I would teach once a week dance. And I used like some of the daycare techniques and then also my yoga, normal yoga training, and I mixed it together, and it was just a beautiful marriage for children's yoga. And so I took all those skills, and I wrote down just kind of the curriculum, what I did, the order of operations of every class. And then I took a break, and then I opened my own yoga studio. So I opened my own yoga studio. It was in the Mission of San Francisco. You can Google it. It was called Yoga Family. And we specialized in all yoga related to families. So we did mommy and me yoga, we did family yoga, we did baby and me, we did prenatal yoga. It was just so amazing. And then we also offered childcare. So I trained a bunch of people to teach children's yoga, family yoga. And then we also had people who were just like good child caretakers while their mom was doing yoga in the back room. So I was coasting along with that, teaching my technique, and people just loved just different activity that you guys can do together, especially if it helps with mindfulness or just techniques where they can calm themselves down. And COVID came around and it sucked. And a lot of the stuff for children, in person things were just bye bye, right? It was just done. And especially because I was dealing with the high risk population, meaning the prenatal ladies, they were definitely not allowed to come to the yoga studio, especially because they're pregnant and you don't want to get COVID when you're pregnant. They didn't know what was going to happen with the baby, et cetera, et cetera. So it just was not sustainable for me. I did the online classes, but you know how kids are. When you do online classes, they're just like spaced out or they're just watching it like it's TV. Okay. They just stand still and they watch it. So nothing beats in person for children. So that didn't work out. I had to close my yoga studio. I got sued by the freaking landlord because he needed me to pay rent. I had no money. I had no customers. Everybody didn't want to do online classes, especially for the audience that I had. So, anyways, that I moved on from that. And then so they started opening schools up again. So I closed my yoga studio down and I was like, okay, your girl needs some money. I need to like work. I need to get out of this hole. I just had so much debt from the yoga studio and then not being able to work for 2 years and just doing this online random stuff for yoga was not helping. And so I got another job. And this time, instead of teaching like daycare, 2 to 3 year olds, I started to move to preschool, 3 to like 5 years old. So I started becoming a preschool teacher. They trained me in like what I needed to do to teach preschool. And then I would teach like elementary school yoga on the side when schools had opened up. We were all masked up. I also did some like summer program, which involved tweens, and just really integrating all the things that I've learned of being a teacher and then adding the yoga in there. And so I was basically teaching the normal preschool day, then cutting aside 1 day a week for teaching children's yoga, and they just loved it. It was like so cute, like especially when they're in preschool and like elementary school, they're able to share their feelings. So we sat in a circle, and I would say like I would ask a question like, "Oh, how was your day? What's a highlight? Something that made you happy?" And they would say some really cool stuff and just like very insightful stuff. So I can really get to know how they think and what they're feeling those days. So I just loved that. And usually when you're the teacher, they see you as like a safe space to share. So I really loved that. Um, yeah, and so after that, I was like, okay, other people, I was like in this yoga group, and a bunch of people kept asking questions about how to teach children's yoga. So then I was like, okay. And so then I wrote like this book on Amazon. I have like a book about how to teach children's yoga, and then I also had lesson plans. And then I was like, okay, well, like sometimes when you write stuff, it doesn't really do it justice. So I was like, okay, let me create a course. And so now I have a online children's yoga teacher training course where it has videos, lesson plans, printables, activities, yoga sequences, all the things that I've learned as a teacher, and all the things that I've learned teaching summer camps, and I pushed it all into that course for you. So if you're looking to expand your career as a yoga teacher, or maybe you're like a teacher and you're like, okay, sometimes these kids need like a brain reboot, you can incorporate any of the things that I have in that yoga teacher training course into your classrooms. And I like for me, when I taught the yoga class at the daycare, preschool, summer camp, stuff like that, they always paid me a premium because it really is a premium skill versus just a normal yoga teacher. So that was like one of the coolest things that was just like a cherry on top that I got to get paid more than a regular yoga teacher, which was really cool. And it really helped me pay the bills. So, especially, the hustle of yoga teachers is just like hopping from one studio to the other studio to the other studio. Ain't no breaks up in there unless you give yourself one, right? So, I highly encourage you to invest in yourself and learn how to teach children's yoga. You're not only like up leveling your skills, but you're also changing the lives of kids. Kids sometimes don't really connect through like homework or like lessons, like normal days sitting in the chair lessons. Sometimes they need something different, and yoga is just the thing. And you just think about when you do yoga and you do meditation and you do breathing, how much better you feel. So I encourage you guys to sign up. And even on my website, there is a free lesson plan. If you just kind of want to see, like, can I teach this? Is this something that I can do? You just look at the lesson plan and put your email in. You get a free lesson plan and you can see if you can execute, and my training will help you execute. And also, like, any occasions that arise where you're like, WTF, what do I do? My yoga teacher training will help you resolve that and do like classroom management, children management, especially with their attention, because their attention span can be really short. Um, yeah, so sign up for the yoga lesson plan slash cheat sheet, and it'll give you all the answers. And with that being said, I'm going to do a series just giving some dimes, they call dimes? No, pearls of wisdom of how to teach children's yoga. So stay tuned. I think I'll do like maybe a 3-day series of that. Each day I'll put a YouTube video on how to just tips and tricks of how to teach children's yoga. So like and subscribe if you're interested in this, and I will see you guys later.